And welcome back to Dwayne and Nidia Food, Travel, and Fun. Today, it's just Nidia in the kitchen. Dwayne is off working, but we had some good luck with our last TikTok recipe. We did the famous TikTok mac and cheese. So I figured, I've heard a lot about that Marry Me chicken. I love a good chicken dish. So today, I'm going to show you how to make Marry Me chicken. I've never made it before. I have high hopes though. Let me show you what you need in order to be able to make the Marry Me chicken. So the first thing is, I have here some chicken breasts and some chicken thighs, which I have butterflied, cut in half, and for the breasts at least, and also pounded a little bit to give it some more tenderization. I don't think thighs actually need a lot of pounding, but sometimes breasts do need it, so they're more tender when you cook them up. In addition, I have 2 onions that have already been diced. I have some butter. I have some grated Parmesan cheese. I have some jarred sun-dried tomatoes. I have some whipping cream. And I use minced garlic. You can certainly use fresh garlic, salt, pepper. And for my spices today, I'm going to rely basically on the Italian seasonings and chili flakes. If you prefer to use fresh herbs, your own rosemary, your own oregano, your own thyme, that kind of thing, feel free to do so. A little bit of white wine, some Dijon mustard, and some basil leaves. This is a very quick dish. It comes together quite quickly. We do it all in basically one stove pot. I'm going to use a deep fryer, kind of like that, deep skillet, and I will meet you at that skillet as soon as we're ready to cook our chicken, which is the first step. First the chicken, and then we do the sauce. Okay, so now we're back in the kitchen. And we're going to continue with our TikTok Marry Me chicken. I don't know how it got that name, but it is intriguing. Anyway, here are the chicken breasts that I had pounded out and prepared and showed you all. What I'm going to do before I actually turn around and head to the stovetop is I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil into this bowl and some crushed pepper, and so there's the olive oil, the chicken, and the pepper. I'm going to add some Italian seasonings. If you don't want to use dried seasonings, feel free to use fresh herbs, as I mentioned. I don't think you can really use too much of this Italian seasoning stuff, so to be honest, I think I'm going to add a little more. It just is so aromatic and it's just so good. Again, you can feel free to use the seasonings at your disposal. I'm going to add a little bit of chili flake. I like to kick things up a notch or two. Not much coming out of this one though. Oh, there we go. There we go. And lastly, I'm going to add some salt to the chicken. I usually pinch it in my hand and then add it. What I usually do next is I put a glove on and I kind of make sure the chicken gets coated with all of those really, really nice spices, because I did put the olive oil in here too. I'm just going to make sure these spices stick to the chicken. You can do this with some tongs, or you can do this with a glove like I'm wearing. There we go. Just make sure everything is coated. Make sure everything has some of that spice on it. I might need a little more from what I can see. And I'll add a little bit more. All right, so now that I pretty much have my chicken ready, let's go to the stove. Okay, so I'm here at the stove. I think you can see the pan. I have a nice deep skillet. I put a little bit of olive oil in there, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take the jar of sun-dried tomatoes, open it, and pour a little of that sun-dried tomato oil into the pan, and then turn on my stove and get that heated up, because I am going to sear this chicken in this pan. And I'll show you a close-up in a little bit, but I'm going to sear the chicken in this pan and then take it back out and then start working on the sauce. Well, you may not be able to see me too good unless I do this, but you can see the pan, and that's what's important. Okay. So let's get this oil around the bottom of the pan here. I'm going to put this on a medium flame. So it is called Marry Me Chicken. I think I'm going to do a little research by the time I post this so I can talk to you about why they call it Marry Me Chicken. I guess it's so good that if you make it for someone, they'll immediately want to marry you, I guess. But it is TikTok famous. I've seen several variations. This is one that I kind of threw together after reading a couple of different variations, but it does include the things that they all had in common, which was the use of the sun-dried tomato, some cream, some wine, and some different things in the sauce. All right, so this is starting to heat up a little bit, and I am going to sear these chicken breasts and thighs. I use both. There we go. It's usually about 3 to 4 minutes per side. I did cut these in half, and I did butterfly them. And I did give them a bit of a pounding, particularly the breasts. There we go. Sizzle, sizzle. I usually trim a lot of the fat. This time I trimmed most of the fat because I read in one of the other versions of this recipe that a little bit of the fat, especially if you're using breast, adds to the flavoring of the, all right, that's pretty much a full pan here. I still have a few more pieces. But let's just sear this chicken. I'll give it a couple of minutes each side and then come back and turn it over. So you can see I've already turned them once. I really like to be careful, especially with chicken breast, not to make them too overcooked or too dry, because remember, this still has to be combined in the end, and it will still do some cooking once you have the sauce all ready. I don't worry too much about chicken thighs, though. I've never really had an unjuicy chicken thigh, you know, probably because it's darker meat. But definitely, you know, make sure it gets seared. Doesn't quite have the golden color I was looking for just yet, so we'll give it a couple more minutes until it starts to get a little golden. Right, so the chicken is searing nicely now. You may be wondering, why didn't I coat the chicken in a little bit of flour? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. One of the recipes actually did have the coating first before you do the searing. I think I'm just trying to go a little lighter this time. I don't think it's necessary. And as you can see, I'm starting to get a more golden color here. And when the chicken is all nicely seared on both sides, I'm going to remove it from this pan and put it in a separate bowl. And I'll keep it in that separate bowl and then work on making the Marry Me sauce here once the chicken is done. So I don't know about all of you. Are you white meat people? Do you like chicken breast more than the thigh? I actually like both, but I have to say, I find the thigh is much more juicy and much more, I don't know, forgiving when it comes to maybe cooking or overcooking some of the chicken. So this is looking really quite nice. I don't want to overcook this chicken. It will come back into this pot. So you don't want to turn it to, you know, rubber, or make sure it doesn't have to be cooked completely through just yet. You'll get there when you get there. But I am getting that nice seared color. So I'll continue with the searing. I have a few more pieces here that I'm going to sear, and then I'll show you all the seared chicken in the bowl when I'm finished, and then we're going to get started on the sauce. Alrighty, and that's the last piece. That's the last piece. There we go. Getting that golden color on the edges. And again, don't worry about cooking the chicken all the way through right now. Get it seared on both sides so it's just about cooked. And then you're going to put it aside. And here's my seared chicken pieces, which I will now set aside as I work to make the Marry Me sauce, also known as garlic cream sauce, which is what it sort of reminds me of. Garlic cream sauce with a few other little things in it. I'm going to put some butter in there first. And get my stove up. There we go. I'm going to lower that flame. I'm actually going to deglaze a little of this pan just a little bit with some wine. And now, time for garlic. If you are using fresh garlic, 3 to 4, I think 3 to 4 little cloves. I'm going to go with my standby of minced. I do not think you can over garlic anything, so I'm using a couple of tablespoons. I'm using a teaspoon, but I'm basically putting in several teaspoons equaling at least 2 tablespoons full. So that's the garlic. To that, I'm adding about, this is 2 onions, 2 diced onions. I diced them earlier, so they're ready to go. I'm going to put all the onion here now with the garlic. And now we're going to give this a stir. We're going to make sure that we caramelize and cook up those onions with the garlic, with that butter, and with that wine. Here we go. I'm going to actually raise the temperature of the flame a little bit here. It's looking good. So yeah, the Marry Me sauce does seem to be very reminiscent of a, garlic cream type sauce, except that it has sun-dried tomatoes and some fresh basil. I have seen people make that sauce and actually use fresh spinach. Of course, it does take some cream and Parmesan cheese. So yep, there's nothing about this that's not going to taste fantastic, I'm sure of it. All right, and I will continue to make sure that these onions caramelize and get soft and sweat it out here in the pan with the butter, with a little bit of the wine, and with the garlic. So you can see the garlic and the onion has really sweat down, caramelized. It's getting that nice golden color now. It's looking great. There is one thing I forgot to mention, though. One thing I did forget to mention, I think I actually forgot it in the beginning. You will need some chicken broth or some chicken stock. It does become part of the base of this sauce. Some people don't like to cook with any alcohol, or they can't drink any alcohol or have any alcohol. So certainly you can go all stock. You don't have to add the wine. And I will have the recipe that I am using here down below in the description, so you can follow along and make it yourself and know which ingredients you have to have on hand, that kind of thing. So this is really smelling amazing and looking amazing, as you can see. I've never tasted this chicken. I'm really excited to be, making this today and having this for dinner. I've heard some people like to serve Marry Me chicken with mashed potatoes or roasted potatoes or even rice. I'm going to go with mashed potatoes. All right, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to deglaze it a bit here with some wine. I'm just using a little bit of white wine, not going overboard with it. I am going to add a little black pepper here. You can also add a little salt here, depending on your taste. I'm certainly not going to tell you how much salt to use or how much of any of these other things to use. I think everyone has their own taste for salt, their own taste for, you know, spices and herbs and things. Some people like things that are a little more bold than others. Looking good. So, I mentioned the chicken broth or the chicken stock. So this is me adding the chicken stock. I'm adding about 3/4 of a cup. You can adjust as you feel the need to. This does become sort of the base for the gravy. Smells great. How can butter, wine, and garlic and the taste and smell of chicken not be great, right? I'm actually going to add a little bit more of the chicken stock because I did make more than the typical number of chicken pieces, so I want to make sure I have enough sauce. So I'm adding about a cup, full cup, and because I don't want to throw off my proportions, a couple more drops of wine, and to that, a cup. Actually, I'm going to add 2 cups, which would be the 16-ounce container of whipping cream. Because I have a lot of chicken. I'm going to give this a stir so I can combine. And again, this will become the basis for that luscious, silky, garlic creamy sauce. I'll let that warm up a little bit, and then I'm going to add the Parmesan cheese. So I have my whipping cream and broth, wine, garlic, onion mix here. And now, I've kind of let that all settle. I've stirred it up a bit. I'm going to add the sun-dried tomatoes. I'm going to eyeball it. These are already cut into little chunks and strips. Yeah, so that's good. I think I'm going to use about half this jar. It's not a big jar. I don't know if that's overkill or not, but let's see how it goes. So that's the sun-dried tomato. I think, yeah. This is a 8.5-ounce jar. So that's actually not a lot of sun-dried tomato. Looks like maybe I could use a little more sun-dried tomato. Again, don't be afraid to experiment in the kitchen. Nothing scary about trying something new and making adjustments for the next time you make something. There we go. I think I'll just add that. It is about half the jar, which would make it about 4 ounces. Stirring it all up. So let's let this kind of marinate here for a bit. I'll keep stirring it, and then I'm going to add the cheese. Yep, seems to be coming together nicely. You can see the oils from the sun-dried tomato giving this a really nice color. Now I'm going to add some Parmesan. I bought the kind already. I know, it's a little lazy of me, but I bought the kind already grated. I know it's not the same as getting the bar and grating it yourself, so please, by all means, modify as you need. I'm sure it'll taste fine either way, but I'm using what I had available, and I will end up using this entire container. This happens to be a container that is 5 ounces. of grated Parmesan. Also, at this time, go ahead and feel free to add more oregano, a little bit of thyme. I have some fresh basil leaves, but it didn't look like it was going to be enough, so I'm adding a little bit more basil here now. I'll take these leaves, what's left of these, because sometimes basil leaves, I bought these fresh and they were organic, but just from one day to the next, they got a little soft on me. Also, for those of you who love Dijon, put in about a tablespoon or so. Make sure you taste it and then adjust it from there. I do like the taste of Dijon, so I may add more later. With the glasses, but wow, that's beginning to smell awesome. If you want to kick it up a notch, add a little bit of heat. This could be where you put some chili flake, additional chili flake, or I have right here crushed red pepper flakes. I do like a little bit of heat and tang. I have the flame on low. I'm going to let this go for a little bit, especially now that I'm adding a little bit more cheese. So what I usually do is I add the cheese and do some stirring, add a little bit more cheese, do a little bit more stirring. There we go. You want that cheese to melt. It's going to start to thicken some of this. So we'll let this go for a little while. So this is really thickening. Smells fantastic. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some fresh basil leaves. I'm tearing them, adding them in here. And maybe I'll stir it up a little bit. You can certainly use spinach. Kind of brightens up the dish. You want to stir just enough to see the leaves get a little wilted. Same as you would do for spinach. Smells so good. There's nothing like, I mean, I really do like fresh herbs, and you know, I know it's a matter of convenience when you use the dried stuff, but and there you have it. I'm going to stir this up a little bit. See that my basil is starting to wilt. And then I'm going to stop stirring because now it's time to get the chicken. Alrighty. This is on low. I'm going to stop with all the stirring. I'm going to start adding my chicken back in and coat it. Make sure it's on a low flame. The sauce is pretty hot anyway. Yeah, I did kind of double up the recipes from the places that I had found it because I really had a lot of chicken and because I wanted to make more than just chicken breasts or just chicken thighs. I really wanted both. So I'm adding the chicken to the sauce. Now I'm going to go ahead and stir the sauce mixture and the chicken so it's coating this chicken. Now remember, the chicken was almost completely cooked, so at this point it's really up to you to kind of keep your eye on all of this so you don't overcook. If you have your flame up, you can lower it, or if you get this nice and hot, you can check one of the pieces of chicken through to see if it's cooked in the middle. I usually like to do that with the breast, with a big thick breast piece. I'll check it after a few more minutes and I'll let you know how we're doing with the chicken. So I did take out a piece of the chicken. I'm going to cut it. I gotta put my glasses on. Yes, it is cooked through. So this is one of my biggest pieces. It's a breast. It is pounded. If that piece is cooked through, then I'm not going to worry too much about the other pieces that were much smaller or much thinner. The thighs certainly look good. And this is really, really hot. So I'm going to consider this pretty much done. The only thing missing is the final taste test for the sauce. It's going to be really, really, really hot. combination of the garlic, the wine, the sun-dried tomatoes, the cheese. I probably could have let the onions get a little softer, but you know what? Not worried about them sitting in here for a little while. They'll just soften up because it's still hot. In fact, I'm going to put the temp up on this because I'm not in any danger of overcooking anything. Get the sauce nice and hot and then turn it all off and cover it. And then the chicken will be finished. Look how good that looks. So this chicken is finished. So while I wait for Dwayne to come home from work, because this is going to be our dinner tonight, I'm going to make some mashed potatoes. I've already boiled and set aside some potatoes. I'm going to just mash those now, and I'm going to serve this with mashed potatoes instead of rice or instead of roasted potatoes. I do like mash with some of this gravy on it. It's going to be awesome. Again, this would be a good time for you to taste it. Do that final taste test, salt level, pepper level, everything level, adjust it here and now, and I'm sure it'll be perfect. I'll show you what it's like when Dwayne gives it a try. Okay.
Well, let me try a potato. And you say this is, what is that with the sun-dried tomato? What's the green? Is it?
Basil.
That's basil?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's good.
Fresh basil, sun-dried tomatoes. It's called Marry Me, not because people marry people who make it.
Trying to get a bigger piece here.
Because of the marriage of flavors in the sauce.
Ah, well, that's chicken.
So.
I got thigh.
Good. I use thighs and I use breasts, so.
It is nice tender. Now I get it mixed. Yeah.
Good.
I thought it was going to be really buttery, but it's
No.
more broth.
Yep, broth based.
Yeah, it's very good. It's got a lot of flavor. The onion comes through. It's sweet.
It might be the basil, huh?
It must be from the basil, yeah.
Okay.
But it's good.
It's a winner. Perfect.
It's a winner.